George R.R. Martin never wrote a rulebook for magic. He did not need to. The magic in his world already has one. The godswives of Lazar know it. The red priests of R'hllor know it. The faceless men in Braavos, the greenseers, the woods witches north of the Neck, all of them know it. The characters inside these books are learning those rules the hard way, and most of them are learning too late. Everything that happens when magic is invoked in these books is bound by the same set of rules. The dragons, the shadows, the resurrections, the visions, the boy in the cave, all of it. And the first of those rules is the one that breaks the most people.
Mirri Maz Duur was a god's wife of a village in Lazar. Before Daenerys ever met her, Khal Drogo's Khalasar rode through her village to take slaves for Daenerys' crossing to Westeros. They burned her temple. They butchered her elders. Drogo's riders raped her 3 times beside the altar of the Great Shepherd. When Daenerys asked her to save a dying Drogo, she was asking a woman the Dothraki had already destroyed. Mirri agreed. She gave Daenerys 6 words that are the closest thing to a written law magic has in this world. Only death may pay for life. Daenerys heard what she wanted to hear. Mirri meant exactly what she said. The stallion paid nothing. It was a prop. The real price came out of Daenerys' own womb.
Her unborn son Rhaego died inside her that night. Her place among the Dothraki died with him. What walked out of that tent was not called Drogo. It was a body with empty eyes that his own wife finished with a pillow a week later. Mirri looked Daenerys in the face and asked her when her dead son had ever done her any kindness. Daenerys burned her for that answer, bound her to Drogo's pyre, and walked out of the flame at dawn with 3 living dragons crawling up her bare arms. Mirri's death had paid for them. This is the first unspoken rule. Magic does not give, it trades. Every working pays in something alive. Lord Beric Dondarrion was master of Blackhaven on the Dornish marches, a lean red-gold knight.
Eddard Stark, acting as Hand of the King, sent him into the Riverlands to arrest Sir Gregor Clegane for the crimes of Tywin Lannister. He never came back. The Mountain's men killed him at the Mummers Ford with a lance through the chest. Thoros of Myr, a fat, drunken red priest whose only fame was a flaming sword at the Siege of Pike, said the last rites over the body. He had been chanting that prayer for 20 years without a shred of belief. This time, the body sat up. Thoros did it 5 more times. Beric came back from axe, mace, dagger, and manticore. Each time, less of him came back. In the Hollow Hill, Arya Stark finds a man who cannot remember his own wife, cannot remember his mother, cannot remember the castle he grew up in.
He tells her exactly what the fire is taking. Every time I come back, I am a little less. After the Red Wedding, the Brotherhood pulls Catelyn Stark's body out of the river 3 days cold. Thoros will not even try. Beric kneels beside her, gives her the last of what R'hllor gave him 6 times over, and does not come back. What rises is not Catelyn. It is a corpse with her hate inside it, hanging frays from river trees. On Dragonstone, the same rule takes a different currency. Stannis Baratheon lies with Melisandre of Asshai. She births shadows that have his face. The first one slides through stone under Storm's End and splits Renly's armor in the arms of Brienne of Tarth. The second kills Courtney Penrose in his sleep and opens the gates. Davos Seaworth rows Melisandre in for both. Stannis each time comes back aged. His beard grays, his cheeks hollow. Melisandre tells him to his face that the shadow is his blood, his years. The magic is not cruel. It is only exact. You wanted fire. Fire needs fuel. If you do not bring any, it will find its own.
At the start of the 4th book, in the Citadel of Old Town, a novice named Pate dies in a stone corridor. A man with no face takes his coin and his life. Before Pate dies, he sees a light under the door of Archmaester Marwyn's chambers. The light is a glass candle. Glass candles are carved from Valyrian obsidian, older than the Doom. Prayer, craft, and wish cannot light them. According to every maester of the Citadel, no man alive would ever see one burn. And burning they were. Samwell Tarly arrives at the Citadel in the 5th book with a letter from the Night's Watch. Marwyn the Mage pulls him aside for the conversation that names the last 1,000 years of magical silence for what they were.
Marwyn asks Sam who he thinks killed the last dragons the last time around. Not the wars, not the dancing of the dragons, the Maesters. A faction inside the Citadel, quietly, across generations, arranged for the Targaryen dragons to weaken and die because the dragons were the engine that kept magic alive in the world. When the last dragon fell dead in a pit in King's Landing, the prophecies stopped landing. The red flames burned empty. The Weirwoods went quiet. Glass candles sat black on their shelves for 150 years. The quiet lasted 150 years. It ended at the end of the 1st book. Daenerys walked into a pyre with 3 stone eggs and walked out at dawn with 3 living dragons.
A great red comet crossed the sky from Dragonstone to Karth, and something older than any Targaryen turned its eyes open across the world. Everything magical in the world flares back on at once. Thoros resurrects, Melisandre's shadows work. The others cross south of the fist of the first men. Bran slips into summer. Quaithe of the Shadow begins appearing in Daenerys' tent like a red lacquered mask with no face behind it. Glass candles light themselves across the Citadel. None of this is a coincidence. The dragons were not the source of magic. They were the furnace. When the furnace was cold, every working in the world ran low. When the furnace lit, every working got a little stronger. This is why the Maesters wanted the dragons dead.
Not because the dragons burned villages, because the dragons kept the rest of the old world warm. Kill the furnace, and the rest freezes on its own.
A woods witch called Maggy the Frog lived in a tent outside Lannisport when Cersei Lannister was a child. 3 girls went to her tent one afternoon when they should not have. Cersei Lannister, Jane Farman, afraid of her, and Melara Heatherspoon, a hedge knight's daughter who was in love with Jaime Lannister and had not told anyone. Cersei demanded 3 questions. Maggy bit her thumb hard enough to draw blood and sucked the drop into her own mouth before she answered. Maggy told her she would be queen. True. She told her a younger, more beautiful queen would come and cast her down and take everything she held dear. True. She told her Cersei's children would wear golden crowns and golden shrouds. True. Every one of them.
She told Melara Heatherspoon quietly that she would die that night. Melara fell down a well before dawn and drowned. And then Maggy said the sentence Cersei has carried like a knife for 40 years. When your tears have drowned you, the Valonqar will wrap his hands around your pale white throat and choke the life from you. Cersei thinks the Valonqar is Tyrion. It is not a name. It is High Valyrian. It means little brother. Cersei has 2 little brothers. Tyrion was born last. Jaime was born minutes after her on the same morning. Cersei has spent her life hating the wrong brother for a murder she has not even suffered yet. The one most likely coming for her throat has been holding her body in secret since before they had words.
The prophecy is exact. The reading of it is the trap. This is how magic speaks in every book of this series. It shows the truth, then it steps back and watches a human being misread it badly enough to die of it. Rhaegar Targaryen was a reader before he was a warrior. As a boy, he found a particular scroll in the library at Dragonstone, closed the door, read it once, and came out a different prince. He told his mother, Queen Rhaella, that he was the promised prince. When his wife Elia bore him a son, he named that son the promised prince. Then he read further. The dragon must have 3 heads. Elia could not give him a 3rd child. And so at the tourney at Harrenhal, the Silver Prince crowned a Stark girl Queen of Love and Beauty in front of his own wife, took her months later, and started a rebellion that ended his wife murdered in King's Landing.
his son's head dashed against a wall, and his own chest caved in by Robert Baratheon's warhammer on the trident. Rhaegar was right. There was a promised prince. His reading of what that meant destroyed the Targaryen dynasty in a single war. At the House of the Undying in Qarth, the warlocks give Daenerys a cup of shade of the evening and send her through rooms of visions. 3 fires she must light. 1 to love, 1 for life, 1 for death. 3 mounts she must ride. 1 to bed, 1 to dread, 1 to love.
3 treasons will she know. Once for blood, once for gold, once for love. Every vision already happens or is about to happen. Dany walks past a blue-eyed king who casts no shadow, past her Viserys with molten gold across his skull, past a rotting Rhaegar holding up an infant Aegon and naming him the promised prince. She catches almost none of it. She walks out with a dragon on her shoulder, torches the warlocks, and forgets half the warnings before she reaches the city gate. Melisandre of Ashai, the priestess who is right about her shadows and wrong about almost everything else, says it best in her own chapter. She asks R'hllor to show her Azor Ahai, the promised prince reborn. R'hllor shows her snow. She reads it as a trick of the fire. She marches Stannis to the wall and tells him his enemies are the Boltons. The flames do not lie. The priestess cannot read them. A court fool drowned off the coast of Volantis when Stannis was 5. A day later, Patchface washed back up on the shore, with the bells still sewn into his hat and his mind gone. He has been singing nonsense ever since. "Shadows come to dance, my lord, bones of the dead beneath the sea." His rhymes keep landing. He is the only character in the series whose prophecies never fail, because nobody bothers to interpret him. The prophecy is safe inside the nonsense. Every other reader fails, most of them fatally. The 5th book opens inside the dying head of a skin changer called Varamyr Sixskins. Once he had been a boy called Lump, ugly, unwanted, beaten by his father for the dog he wore. The spear wife Hagon taught him to skin change properly, and Lump grew into a wildling warlord who rode 6 animals at once: 2 wolves, a shadow cat, a snow bear, a golden eagle stolen from the warg Orell, after a Night's Watch ranger called Jon Snow killed Orell at the Fist of the First Men. When Stannis' men burn his camp at the foot of the wall, Varamyr crawls north into a snowdrift and begins to die. Varamyr tells us the rules of his craft because he is dying and has nothing left to hide. Animals, yes. Other humans, almost never. A skin changer who forces himself into a human mind breaks that mind and is thrown out violently. He tries it once, at the end, on a spear wife called Thistle. Her soul fights back inside her own skull, tears her own cheeks with her nails, and drives him out. Varamyr dies a minute later. What survives of him now lives inside a gray wolf called Stalker. One mind spread thin across 4 paws. The wolf has a long while to live. The man inside it already does not remember his own name. Varamyr is a skin changer. There is a deeper thing than a skin changer in the lore of this world, a green seer. Beneath a hollow hill in the true north, Bran Stark grows slowly into a network of trees.
The figure feeding him in vanished from the wall 50 years ago. Lord Brynden Rivers, Bloodraven, a great bastard of House Targaryen, sorcerer of 1,000 eyes and 1, hand of the king to Aerys I. In the year 252 after the conquest, Bloodraven rode beyond the wall at the head of 100 Black brothers and never returned. He is now 125 years old. His body has grown into the chair of white roots he sits in. One eye is red, the other is empty. The green seer is the one exception to the rules that bind every other magic in this story. The medium is the Weirwood. Every carved face from here to the Isle of Faces is a node in one network, and a green seer rides through all of them. Past, present.
Small, uncertain glimpses of what is becoming. Bran watches his father pray at the Winterfell heart tree years after Ned has died on the steps of the Great Sept of Baelor. And Ned, in his long-gone moment, turns his head slightly, as if he heard a voice through the leaves that cannot be there. The Weirwoods remember everyone who knelt in front of them. A greenseer does not see the future. The tree has no sense of when. And a greenseer does what Varamyr said no skin changer could. Bran slips into Hodor. Hodor is a giant stable boy with the mind of a young child, grandson of old Nan. Bran enters him against the rule and rides him through the cave like a second wolf. Hodor huddles into a small, dark corner of his own skull, while his body belongs to a boy who decided to borrow it. Bran knows it is wrong. He's 8. He does it anyway. The cost is not paid in this lifetime. Lord Brynden Rivers is 125 and pinned to a chair he will die on. Bran has a bill coming the books have not shown us yet. The rule does not break for the greenseer. The price is paid in a different currency. A skin changer pays in a dying animal. A greenseer pays in a tree and a cave and the slow erasure of a human body into roots that will live for 1,000 years. There is no free working anywhere in this world.
In Braavos, there's a temple with 2 doors, one of black wood and one of white. Inside it, a man the novices call the kindly man tells a half-orphaned Stark girl what she has walked into. The god of this temple has many names, he says. The stranger in the Faith of the Seven, the black goat in Qohor, the lion of night in Far Yi, a drowned god's shadow on the Iron Islands. The gods disagree about the world. They agree about the end of it. All men must die, he says in the old Valyrian every Braavosi knows. Valar Morghulis. All men must serve. Valar Dohaeris. Sit with that long enough, and the shape of the other faiths comes through it. The old gods speak through weirwood faces in a cold, sacred grove and demand blood on the white roots.
The red god speaks through fire in a brazier on a windy cliff and takes king's blood in the flame. The many-faced god speaks through a hall of peeled faces and takes a life given willingly. 3 different religions, 3 different priesthoods, 3 different mediums. The same 3 moving parts. A medium that shows you something you cannot see otherwise, a living cost paid for the showing, a trained human being who stands at the gate and decides who the cost is paid by. Weirwood face, kindled flame, or peeled skin. The 3 faiths argue about who the god is. They agree, without saying so, about how the god works. This is why it matters that so many workings fire back at the same moment. The blood cost, dragons waking the furnace.
Prophecies starting to land again. Greenseers coming back online. Glass candles in Old Town. 5 systems did not return at once. 1 system returned through 5 different doors. Martin has never told us where the well is. It could be beneath a shy by the shadow on the coast of the Jade Sea. It could be in the heart of winter, far north of the land of always winter. It could be something older than both of those places. He does not need to tell us. The people inside the books are already drinking from it. They do not know they are all drinking from the same cup.
This is the honest frame for magic in these books. Not a toolkit, not a gift. An exchange. And the exchange is not in your favor. A flame needs a life, a resurrection needs a memory, a shadow needs a king's years, a vision needs a priest who can read it and not lose their mind in the reading, a greenseer needs a tree and a century. Every one of those prices is paid in something alive. George R.R. Martin never wrote a magic system. He wrote a world where one already existed, old and indifferent, long before any human learned to touch it. The characters in these books are not wizards. They stand next to a machine they do not fully understand. They pull levers, they pay prices, they hope that what comes back is the thing they asked for.
Most of the time, it is not. Most of the time, it is close. Close is the most dangerous thing a magical answer can be in this world. Close is what the characters have to live with for however long the rules let them.